Airports are supposed to be places of control, regulation, and order. But behind the buzz of departure gates and the beeps of security scanners, some people treat them like playgrounds for the bold and bizarre. What if I told you someone once tried to board a flight with a snake, not hidden, but proudly registered as emotional support? Or that another woman crossed international borders with no ticket, no passport, and absolutely no one stopping her? Yeah, welcome to the world of airport scams so clever, they should be illegal. Oh wait, they are. If you're into stories that make you question everything you thought you knew about secure places, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Because in today's episode of Bizarre Twisted Tales, we're boarding a flight straight into the absurd. And you won't believe what people got away with. From live reptiles to invisible passengers, let's start with the one that slithered its way past airport security. Almost literally. Case 1. The Emotional Support Snake. It was January 6th, 2023, and the TSA agents at Tampa International Airport were already hours into their usual routine. Shoes off, laptops out, liquids in plastic bags, when something on the X-ray monitor brought everything to a halt. A carry-on bag had triggered an alert, but this wasn't a forgotten bottle of shampoo or a suspicious battery pack. It was alive. Inside the suitcase was a boa constrictor, not a plush toy, not a rubber prank. A real 4-foot-long snake named Bartholomew, calmly coiled in a mesh, laundry bag, and buried beneath a pair of flip-flops and a bag of trail mix. The passenger, a woman identified as Alina Thompson, was a Florida native and self-proclaimed reptile whisperer. She told security agents that Bartholomew was her emotional support animal and had accompanied her on previous flights. When asked for documentation, she smiled and said, "He's not the kind of guy who needs papers. He's a vibe." TSA agents, unsurprisingly, didn't share the sentiment. According to their official report, the snake had made it past the initial security scan unnoticed, only being flagged during a secondary check triggered by irregular shapes. What followed was part confusion, part disbelief, and part panic. Other. Passengers looked on as agents gently opened the bag, revealing a lethargic but very real serpent nestled among socks and a phone charger. Technically, TSA does allow emotional support animals, but only if they're approved, properly documented, and species appropriate. Dogs, cats, and in rare cases, miniature horses have all been cleared for cabin travel. But snakes? Never. In fact, reptiles are specifically listed as banned cabin animals. Alina, however, insisted that Bartholomew had a calming presence. "He's like a weighted blanket that breathes," she explained, stroking the mesh bag like it contained a puppy instead of a predator. The story went viral within hours. News outlets from CNN to BuzzFeed picked it up. Memes flooded social media. One tweet read, "Imagine opening the overhead bin and seeing this dude just hanging out with your neck pillow." The X-ray image became part of TSA's annual top 10 catchiest catches list, alongside a man who tried to smuggle fireworks in a baby stroller and someone who packed a medieval sword as carry-on. Alina faced no criminal charges. Bartholomew was handed over to Airport Wildlife Control and later released to a certified handler. But the airline placed a permanent ban on Alina, citing violation of safety policies. In interviews afterward, she doubled down. "I wasn't trying to sneak anything. I just didn't want to be judged for what helps me cope," she said. Her statement sparked heated discussions online about the expanding and often blurry definition of emotional support animals. Advocates for mental health argued that unconventional comfort animals shouldn't be mocked, while others pointed out the clear safety risks. "It's not about empathy," one TSA spokesperson said. "It's about physics. A snake in a cabin during turbulence isn't therapy. It's chaos." Interestingly, this wasn't the first time reptiles caused a scene at an airport. In 2018, a man in Germany was caught with 3 pythons taped to his stomach, claiming they helped with his anxiety. That case ended in prosecution. What makes Alina's story stick isn't just the absurdity, it's the loophole. She never intended to hurt anyone. She wasn't running a smuggling ring or evading customs. She genuinely thought her scaly companion was as valid as someone else's Labrador, but in the high-stakes world of air travel, even honest intentions can clash with hard rules. And sometimes comfort just doesn't fly, especially when it hisses. And yet, for all the attention it garnered, Bartholomew's adventure exposed a deeper flaw in airline protocol: the human element. Agents are trained to scan for threats, not emotional nuance. And, in a world where therapy animals range from hamsters to peacocks, where exactly do we draw the line? The question isn't just what gets through, it's who decides what's allowed to. In the end, Bartholomew slithered into infamy as a symbol of how modern travel has blurred the lines between vulnerability and violation. One woman's comfort became a national debate. And as the TSA quietly added more species to its banned list, passengers everywhere looked a little closer at the person next to them, just in case their carry-on hissed too. Case 2. The 1-cent passenger. It was supposed to be a routine boarding procedure at Campo Grande International Airport, Brazil, in July 2024. A man approached the check-in desk with nothing more than a backpack, a smile, and a boarding pass that made the attendant do a double take. The price? R$1. That's 1 cent. For a flight from Rio de Janeiro. The ticket had all the hallmarks of a legitimate reservation: QR code, itinerary, and even an assigned seat. But something didn't sit right with the airline system. The internal booking records showed no payment confirmation, and yet the seat was somehow blocked. Within minutes, security was called. The passenger, 29-year-old Matheus Leandro, was cooperative. Almost too cooperative. He explained that he had discovered a glitch in the airline's app and used it to generate the ticket. According to phone records, he had exploited a brief moment during a promotion when the app's payment gateway failed to register currency conversion correctly, processing the ticket as a test charge. Authorities uncovered that Matthias had flown at least 6 times using variations of the same method. He even kept screenshots of the zero-value transactions as trophies. Initially, he claimed he was testing vulnerabilities and intended to report them, but never did. What stunned investigators wasn't just the hack, it was how low-tech it was. No advanced software or spoofed identities, just timing. The app briefly switched to a staging environment for internal tests, exposing dummy prices meant for simulations. Most are caught within hours. But Matthias found a window of about 7 minutes, just long enough to grab a seat. He later admitted to following forums where users tracked these glitches. Eventually, he automated the process with a script that refreshed price data every second. He flew across the country under fake names, stayed in hostels, and documented it all in a private blog under the alias Centavo Livre. In court, prosecutors called him a digital predator. Matthias defended himself with logs and timestamps stating, "I didn't break in, I walked through an open door." The judge acknowledged the airline's failure, but still convicted him. Under Brazil's cybercrime law, his sentence: 18 months of community service and a 2-year ban from airline apps. Public reaction was split. Tech circles praised him as a whistleblower. Airlines saw him as a threat. The media dubbed him O Passageiro de Centavo, the 1-cent passenger. Airlines scrambled to audit their systems. Matthias vanished from the spotlight. But months later, his blog resurfaced. One new post: a screenshot of a bus ticket. Also, for $0.1, curiosity doesn't need wings, just Wi-Fi. Behind the absurdity, the story touched a national nerve. It wasn't just about one man gaming the system. It exposed how fragile the digital backbone of major airlines could be. If a self-taught tech enthusiast could do this, what could an organized group accomplish? Journalists began asking uncomfortable questions. Were other companies using outdated infrastructure? How many sandbox environments were live without oversight? The airline declined interviews, but quietly updated its app and doubled its cybersecurity staff within 2 months. Meanwhile, Matthias' story became a case study in university lectures about ethical hacking. His sentencing included a public seminar on digital responsibility, where he told a packed auditorium, "Systems are only as strong as the people behind them. And sometimes, people are tired, underpaid, and one misclick away from headlines." The cell, courtroom, the airport, the blog, all became settings for a cautionary tale. And in the end, Matthias wasn't remembered as a hero or a villain. Just a reminder that even the most advanced systems still have one fatal flaw: curiosity. Case 3. The duty-free extortion scam. In Thailand, for many tourists, the final stop before boarding a flight is the airport duty-free shop. A last chance to pick up gifts, souvenirs, or that one bottle of perfume you forgot to buy downtown. But in 2009, at Bangkok's Suvarnabhumi airport, the act of browsing turned into a nightmare for several travelers. It began with a pattern. Foreign tourists, mostly solo travelers, were being stopped by airport security after allegedly shoplifting. Small items from duty-free stores. The cases followed a near-identical script. A store clerk would accuse the traveler of pocketing an item. Security would appear within minutes, and the tourist would be taken to a small back office to discuss the issue. But what happened next wasn't standard procedure. Instead of filing reports, the tourists were pressured to pay large sums of money to avoid arrest. In some cases, they were told they could be imprisoned for months without embassy contact. The demanded amounts ranged from $1,000 to over $10,000 USD, often in cash or wired to anonymous accounts. Those who paid were released. Those who resisted were detained or deported. The most publicized case involved a British couple, Stephen Ingram and Celine, accused of stealing a designer wallet. They were detained, interrogated for hours, and coerced into paying nearly $8,000. Their story sparked international outrage and a temporary travel warning from the British Embassy. Further investigation suggested collusion between store staff, private guards, and rogue officers. The scandal, dubbed the Thai Airport Shakedown, led to formal complaints and intense media coverage. But no one was ever charged. Officials cited lack of evidence and warned that false claims against personnel could lead to prosecution. Ingram later described the ordeal as psychological torture. He and Celine were kept in a windowless room, denied legal counsel, and told they'd lose their passports and face indefinite detention. Only after a friend wired the funds were they quietly released. Travel forums exploded. Bloggers labeled Suvarnabhumi the most dangerous duty-free zone in Southeast Asia. Tourists shared warnings, and for a time, bookings to Bangkok dipped. The Thai government promised reforms, but the damage to trust had been done. Some insiders claimed victims were profiled. Solo travelers, elderly tourists, and those with poor English, people less likely to fight back. The scam wasn't just about theft. It weaponized fear, used authority as a smokescreen, and trapped people in a system they didn't understand. The real crime wasn't what left the store. It was what got stolen from the passengers, their dignity, money, and faith in safety. The broader impact was chilling. Tourists began filming themselves in stores as a precaution. Travel agencies updated their briefings to warn clients about potential scams even inside airports. Reddit threads urged travelers to never shop alone in duty-free zones across Southeast Asia. The Thai government held press conferences promising transparency and internal reviews. But behind the statements, insiders claimed the scam had simply gone deeper underground, replaced by more subtle intimidation tactics and new personnel. Years later, Ingram recounted in an interview how he no longer felt safe traveling internationally. You think the airport is where the chaos ends. For us, it's where it started. The scandal didn't just damage tourism, it reshaped how travelers think about safety in supposedly secure spaces. Uniforms and walls aren't always protection. Sometimes they're the trap. Case 4. The luggage tag swap scam was a scene straight out of a crime thriller. But it happened in real life at São Paulo Guarulhos International Airport. In December 2023, a Brazilian couple was detained after authorities in Frankfurt found 43 kilograms of cocaine in their checked luggage. The couple, visibly shocked, insisted the bags weren't theirs, and they were right. Surveillance footage later showed 2 baggage handlers swapping the couple's luggage tags with identical-looking suitcases loaded with drugs. The swap took under a minute and was performed after the couple left the check-in area. Their original bags never left Brazil. The couple unknowingly boarded the flight to Germany. Upon arrival, customs agents flagged the bags and arrested them. It took nearly a week and intervention from Brazilian federal police before security footage confirmed their innocence. They were released, but deeply traumatized. The story exploded across Brazilian media. Headlines screamed, "Framed by the system," and "Check-in horror." Public outrage was swift. Politicians demanded answers, and the airport operator came under fire for failing to properly monitor third-party staff. Investigators uncovered that the smuggling ring had used this luggage switching tactic for months. Ground staff in several airports were involved. Arrests followed, but the damage had been done. International trust in Brazil's airport security took a hit. The couple, both school teachers from Minas Gerais, issued a statement through their lawyer warning travelers. Never assume your bag is safe once it leaves your hands. Their names were withheld for safety. Airlines began encouraging passengers to photograph their checked bags and retain tag receipts. Some airports introduced biometric ID checks for baggage staff and digital logs of luggage movements. Suddenly, extra security steps no longer felt excessive. Even Germany revised its approach. Officials there stated the case revealed how international systems fail when trust is blind and coordination is lacking. Travel advisories were quietly updated to include warnings about verified luggage identity. What makes this story truly terrifying isn't just the ease of the crime. It's the silence behind it. No confrontation, no theft, just a sticker switch that nearly destroyed 2 lives. Now travelers double-check tags, document everything, and look over their shoulders at baggage counters. Because in a world of identical bags, the most dangerous thing you might carry is someone else's crime. The broader implications were chilling. If 2 ordinary citizens could be framed this easily, through a nearly invisible act, what protection did any traveler have? Journalists across Europe picked up the story, comparing it to earlier incidents in Southeast Asia, and raising concerns about blind spots in global aviation. Reddit threads and travel forums lit up with tips on how to proof your luggage against sabotage. Influencers made videos about it, and legal experts began questioning the liabilities of airlines when something as simple as a baggage tag could decide someone's fate. Brazil's Federal Aviation Authority was forced to audit not only Guarulhos, but also operations in Rio, Recife, and Brasilia. Internal reports showed inconsistent staff screenings, lack of real-time camera monitoring in baggage areas, and an over-reliance on contractors with little oversight. Meanwhile, the couple returned to Brazil in silence, avoiding media appearances and living under temporary protection. The husband eventually spoke anonymously in a podcast, saying, "There are moments where you feel like your name has been erased, replaced by someone else's crime." This wasn't just a case of smuggling. It was a systemic failure, one that turned airports into stages for injustice. And while the system adapted, scars remained. Now, every bag dropped on a conveyor belt carries a hidden question. Will it be the same bag when it lands? Or will someone else's crime land with your name on it? Case 5. The duty-free tax scam. In Australia in 2022, Australian authorities uncovered a scam that transformed duty-free shopping from a tax-saving perk into a full-blown loophole exploited for hundreds of thousands of dollars. The suspects? A seemingly ordinary couple living in suburban Melbourne. Their method? Genius in its simplicity and completely illegal. Xiaobao Lu and Xu Wenshen had found a way to manipulate Australia's Tourist Refund Scheme, TRS, which allows travelers to claim back the Goods and Services Tax, GST, and Wine Equalization Tax, DEWETN, on goods bought within 60 days of departure, provided those items are taken out of the country. Over 3 years, the couple purchased thousands of dollars worth of luxury goods, perfumes, handbags, electronics, mostly from duty-free stores. They filed refund claims by presenting flight itineraries and receipts. The twist? They never boarded the flights. In many cases, they cancelled bookings after securing the refund, or faked departure records using manipulated documents. Instead of exporting the goods, they resold them domestically, tax-free. Authorities estimate they made over 6,000 refund claims and built a black market inventory worth hundreds of thousands. The couple used car trunks, storage lockers, and online listings to move merchandise at discounted prices. Their scheme unraveled when customs agents noticed repeat refund requests and security logs showing the same names without matching flight records. A search of their home uncovered a cache of boxed luxury items, duplicate receipts, and spreadsheets cataloging every transaction. Retailers were stunned. Some had flagged their frequent purchases, but hadn't realized the TRS itself was being abused. Prosecutors argued that Lu and Shen exploited the fragmented airport ecosystem. where refund counters and boarding records operated in silos, never cross-checking data. Public reaction was polarized. Some saw them as savvy loophole hunters, others as fraudsters draining public resources. The court wasn't lenient. Though they avoided jail via plea deal, they were ordered to repay AUD 300,000 and banned from duty-free stores for life. Though, case triggered a nationwide overhaul. TRS claims are now digitally linked to biometric boarding confirmations. Frequent claimants are flagged for review. Retailers were given new tools to report suspicious behavior. Photos of the couple's garage. Rows of Chanel boxes and tech gear stacked like a boutique circulated in headlines. What made the scam so unsettling wasn't its complexity. It was how normal it all looked, because sometimes the perfect crime doesn't look like a crime at all. The broader consequences were swift. Australia's border force integrated its databases, with airline check-in systems ensuring that no refund could be issued without real-time confirmation of departure. The tax office released public guidelines outlining penalties for abuse and clarified that all TRS claims are subject to audit. What began as two people printing receipts and skipping flights led to nationwide policy reform. In their wake, Lou Dadosys and Shen left behind a lesson in the vulnerability of trust-based systems, and how easily a smile, a receipt, and a departure gate can be misused. And now, every traveler clutching a duty-free bag is watched just a little more closely, because the next refund might not be a perk. It might be a red flag. Case 6. The Phantom Passenger. In November 2024, airport security at JFK International in New York faced a baffling breach that would quickly become an international embarrassment. A 57-year-old woman named Svetlana Dali boarded a Delta flight to Paris without a boarding pass, passport, or even a valid ID. She didn't sneak in through a back door. She simply blended in. Dressed in layers, dragging a beat-up carry-on, and holding a discarded boarding pass she'd found in the terminal trash, Svetlana waited until a large group of passengers headed toward a gate. She walked among them. No, one questioned her. No scanner beeped. No agent stopped her. Hours into the transatlantic flight attendants realized something was off. Svetlana had no assigned seat. She claimed she was in 34B, but that seat was taken. When asked for her boarding pass, she claimed she'd thrown it away. Her French was fluent, her demeanor calm. The crew let her stay for safety and alerted authorities in Paris. Upon landing at Charles de Gaulle, she was quietly detained. French officials quickly realized she had no documents at all. American officials were stunned. She wasn't a known criminal. In fact, she had no record. But her ability to bypass one of the world's most secure airports ignited a storm. Surveillance footage showed her moving through TSA checkpoints and boarding gates undetected. She didn't run or sneak. She walked with purpose and timing. Security. Experts called it a behavioral breach. Svetlana exploited familiarity and silence, posing as just another traveler. In a system that moves fast and trusts appearances, her quiet presence became her disguise. It later emerged that she had attempted similar stunts at other U.S. airports over the past decade. She was always stopped, until now. The backlash was over. Swift. Delta and JFK issued apologies. TSA retrained staff and revised boarding procedures. Agents were now instructed to flag quiet compliance as potential deception. Even trash bins became monitored zones. France deported her back to the U.S., where she was held briefly and underwent psychiatric evaluation. A judge ruled she posed no threat and released her under supervision. The public was fascinated. Talk shows debated whether she was a rebel or a risk. Social media dubbed her Terminal Lady. A documentary was pitched within days. But behind the memes and headlines was a chilling truth. In an age of biometric gates and facial recognition, one woman with no ID crossed the Atlantic using nothing but timing, instinct, and a fake smile. She didn't hack the system. She walked straight through it, and in doing so, she exposed something every airport quietly fears: that sometimes the most invisible person in a terminal is the one who never should have been there. In response, international aviation bodies opened urgent reviews. Airports in Canada, the UK, and Germany began auditing their boarding procedures, recognizing that no amount of hardware could compensate for human assumption. U.S. senators demanded a full report from Homeland Security, and the FAA issued new boarding verification mandates. Svetlana's story became required reading and aviation security courses. Her case wasn't one of hacking, smuggling, or terror. It was a quiet, human glitch in a system engineered to catch everything except stillness. 2. This day, no one knows how she learned the system so well. She gave no interviews, left no manifesto. Just a sentence, overheard during her evaluation. If I had asked, they would have said no. So I didn't ask. Now, airports train staff to notice what used to be ignored. Stillness, silence, confidence. Without paperwork. And travelers, too, glance sideways at the ones who seem too ordinary, too composed, because Svetlana Dali didn't break the rules. She walked in between them. So, what did we learn from all this? That airport scams aren't always pulled off by masterminds with gadgets or fake mustaches. Sometimes they're carried out by a snake in a sock drawer. A refund printed at the right second. A woman who simply refuses to be told no. The most unsettling part? Each one of these cons worked because the system didn't expect them. Not the scam, not the timing, not the silence. And while policies evolve, scanners improve, and security tightens, the truth remains. As long as people are predictable, someone out there will find a way to play the system. Because sometimes, the most dangerous thing in an airport isn't what's in your luggage. It's the story behind it. If you made it this far, you're officially cleared for takeoff on the next Twisted Tale. So don't forget to subscribe, drop a like, and turn on notifications. Because the next scam, it might just be waiting in the boarding line behind you.